to the College Docs. This is Happy Friday. So great to be through almost halfway through January already. And what was really exciting is this week we did a webinar on how to craft a really good college resume. So we're going to kind of use that as sort of our jumping point today and talk about how, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, and especially a junior, how we can really tackle the college resume and why it's so critical to have all of these steps. So Jessica, why don't you give us a little background about the webinar and what that looked like on
Sure.
Wednesday?
Sure. So we had a webinar Wednesday night, and we will include the link here for anyone who is interested in the replay. So you're more than welcome to watch it at any time. And so what we did in the webinar is we went through 5 critical pieces for what makes a strong resume and why you need to start putting one together really right now as a high school student in any grade, right? And so we just are going to take some time today here. We thought it would be a good idea to just kind of unpack it. We use this template of the resume, and we're going to share that with you as well, just as a formatting and something that you can make sure that you're really getting all the different points on the resume and you're not missing anything. So this is a great time. It's a great opportunity, I think, to kind of take a look at what you've accomplished so far in your high school career and maybe where there are some gaps or maybe where you can strengthen it a little bit before completing those applications in August going into your senior year. So again, just a really critical piece. We think that this is something that can help set you apart, help you stand out on those college applications because it tells more of your story. Other than of course, your really important transcript and your test scores. And so this is something that the college admissions counselors really like to see, where you spend your time, what you're passionate about, what your interests are, what your strengths are, and how then you can utilize those when you step on college campus and how you can be involved in those activities as you continue your academic career into college. So that was the basis for our webinar. Yeah.
It was really good. So you definitely want to watch the webinar first. So much good information because we kind of broke down each of the activities, how to build, and really sort of craft it more from I'm actually building it. So today we're going to talk more about the writing process of it. But you definitely want to check that out. I know I had a phone call from a parent yesterday, and once they watched that webinar, the student kind of looked at the dad and said, "Oh, I haven't done any of this. Like, I need to get started." So that's when they are going to start working with us to really look at what's missing and how we can really get him ready for, the college and degree that he's looking for. So the reason that we have the resume built out this way is because, just like Jessica said, with everything about all of your college documents, your essays, your letters of recommendation, your scholarship applications, your college applications, really the resume is the foundational piece. So we kind of look at everything. So by starting and using this template, you're actually starting to write your common application, and most college applications like California is kind of built the same, and a lot of those sort of general coalition apps and so forth. So so let's kind of just talk about some of the key steps and why we have each one on here. So as we said, since we use it for so many different things, I always like just having an objective at the top because it really helps your recommenders and your counselors to kind of know what your goals are. So that could be maybe highly selective schools, if you want to stay in state, go out of state, maybe what your majors are or you're thinking about, maybe if you're pre-law. It just gives us a little bit more information for us to understand sort of what your goal is. And I should see that the rest of your application or that resume kind of goes to pointing to your objective.
Exactly. Yes. And again, you kind of touched on this point, but I think it's important to mention and to remind students and families that this is a resume that is broader than just the college application, right? So this is some information you will definitely put on your college applications, but it's also a really important piece that when you are getting letters of recommendation from teachers, from counselors, coaches, whomever is writing a letter of recommendation for you, this is a really important piece of information for them because it will help them write a really strong letter of recommendation. And then scholarships too. I know a lot of scholarship programs, as part of that application process, require a resume as well. So again, think of it, it's a more comprehensive piece of information that you will go back to several times, and use it in different ways. So that's why we like to spend a lot of time on it. Once you have it, you have it. And that is going to be really helpful because you don't sometimes know you need it until you need it. And so having that already created, saved somewhere will be really, really helpful for the student. So the next section that we like to talk about is the education, right? So that is, oh, I missed a summary, sorry. So the summary, this is where just highlights about the student, maybe key points, some big broader things and or specific things. And this is something that when the admissions counselor or your recommender or the scholarship committee search individuals are looking at, they can get a high overview of some criteria that you have done, some achievements you've done. And so this is really important. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the resume.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll go over education. There's going to be a lot of information that your application will ask about education. But I, like, again, as a recommender, have written literally hundreds and hundreds of letters of recommendation, maybe thousands. I like having this information if I can talk to the student, even have those specifics a little bit more. So I always like having the high school name on there, when you're going to graduate. I always like having the school address, and there's something called the CEEB number, which is the number that's sort of designated to a college for like College Board and Common App and things like that. And so it's just a nice number to have on handy because you're going to need it for your applications. If you don't have it, that's okay. But it is one thing that you could ask. You'll need to find it out. Other things I like is having your GPA on there. If you have two GPAs, like an unweighted or a weighted, we always suggest going with the weighted, but if you want to show that, great. If you know your rank, you could put that on there. Test scores you could put on there. I've also seen some students put, like, maybe you're doing a specialty program, like you're getting your IB diploma or an AP capstone or your AA, whatever that may look. Again, you can kind of highlight maybe a special program that you're in or certificates, industry certification. So there's lots that you could put under education, but again, that should be school related, kind of any special degrees or certificates that you're going to be earning along the way.
Mm-hmm. Along with your test scores are a great place, and class rank as well if you have class rank, and if you're going to be using that. So those are really key points under that section of education that is really, again, helpful. And then the bulk of it is really going to be your activities and experiences. So this is where you're going to kind of put on there it could be fine arts, athletics, leadership positions, clubs, organizations, volunteering, part-time jobs, summer programs, internships, job shadowing, anything that you feel like will help give the bigger picture as to where you spend your time, right? What have you done that's out of the ordinary? Where do you give back? How are you involved in your community and or school? So again, this really helps really kind of showcase your transferable skills as well to the admissions committee, because everything that you're doing here, you may not realize it at the time, but you are showing interpersonal characteristics, your personality, and then transferable skills can go over to the college admissions process.
Yeah, and what I would suggest, this is a really great parent and student activity, and to sit down and really think about, especially if you're a junior, you're going to forget some of those things you did in freshman year, or those awards, or some of those special programs that you've done. So if you can start this early, great. And don't worry about length at this point, right? So just, I would go through and think about, if you belong to a religious institution and you really promote that, whether it's your mosque or your synagogue or your church, you could put something like that. You could put like, community service, maybe some passions outside of school. So if you are really into learning to code by yourself and using YouTube and podcasts and MOOCs, massive open online courses. So really get detailed here. Anywhere from 2 to 3 sentences is great, just to kind of get an idea, like, can I actually talk about this? And then you also want to put down, one of the things colleges is looking for is both longevity, like how long are you like kind of committed to that activity? So they're going to ask you on your application, have you been involved since 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th? For your general resume, I'm okay with you putting, if you started gymnastics in 2nd grade, you can go ahead and put that, because I would want to know as a recommender to say, oh, Amanda's been in gymnastics and, has competed since she was like 8 years old. So that's okay to be a little bit more open with your information at this point. And then the other thing they ask you is what's your depth of it? Do you just kind of do it every once in a while? Or is it something you're really committed to? So they ask you how many hours per week and weeks per year. So where are you spending your academic time? So those are kind of the 2 sort of data points I always like to have on. How many years have you been doing it? And then how long have you been doing it for?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a good point too is we talked about on the webinar was that not everything on here has to be a organized club or activity. Like you mentioned, a lot of students have interests that go beyond the school hours and might be something that's pretty particular. And so we talked about students, learning guitar on their own. And I think you had another example of someone that was doing something on their own. Learning languages on their own is another one. So again, bringing to light any special interest that you have, and it doesn't have to be a organized club or activity in order to put that on here, right?
Right. And I think even just babysitting, a lot of students either babysit for local families or even your own siblings. And so if that takes up a lot of time and that's something that's an activity that you need to do, then you can definitely put that on there. So again, and I want to know that, like as a counselor, I might not know that you work at Mathnasium in the afternoons or in the evening, or that you babysit or have a little side hustle mowing lawns. So right now, shoveling snow, right? And then you're seeing all the photos of the Midwest with the snow. So go ahead and get creative. Don't worry about page length at this point. I would just get everything on. And then as you go through the process, and especially if you want to work with one of us as an advisors, we really look at it and see what the highlights are, and even how you order your activities is really critical. I would start with chronologically, think about, okay, what I do freshman year, what I do sophomore, junior, because it's easier to write that way, but that's not how it's going to end up. Typically it's by sort of your passion and your highest interest, because they're reading these applications really quickly. So they're going to be looking for those key things right away, and they're not looking at that stuff right at the bottom. So even how we organize it and then get it down to word count and everything, but that's not a right now thing. Right now is get the information in and get it on.
It's definitely a strategy, right? We do have a rhyme and reason for how we report all of that on the college applications. And also just keep in mind that this is a working document. So just that you can change it, add to it, edit it. One other really quick thing before we leave today is just I tell students, think of awards day. Did you get any special recognitions, any awards? And those are things to include on here as well. So just trying to think about everything that you have accomplished and will accomplish before you submit those applications senior year.
And this doesn't have to be pretty. Like, don't get into the thing where you have to like get it all organized and use a fancy word template or whatever. This can be very simple, because you're going to be editing it. You're going to be coming back to it. It helps anybody, when we work with you, because in that way we can help sort of find, tooth comb it and make sure that it really highlights your personality, your character, your leadership, and the things that kind of make you shine. Because that's hard to talk about. I think even as adults, it's hard to kind of think about some of those unique attributes that we have. And that's where we really do work on wordplay. We work on what verbs, and there'd be like, I did this or I did this. It's I created, I completed, I developed, all those type of things. Even just how we use words is really important by telling that message for a student.
Exactly. And it's a great activity to learn to start talking about yourself and being comfortable about, because a lot of times if you're doing an interview for admissions or a scholarship admissions process, they might ask you some questions and you're going to need to talk about it. And I think too, sometimes students would be like, well, but I feel like it's bragging on myself. And I'm like, there's a difference. And this is not coming across as bragging, but they need to know what makes you unique and what makes you different, right? And how you can stand out. So a great activity, great exercise. And I think perfect timing, because if you are looking to kind of spruce up that resume or fill in some gaps, the summer is a perfect time to get involved in summer programs or summer camp and any opportunities for volunteering or job shadowing. So taking a look and started planning out. I know summer seems so far away, especially if you are shoveling snow right now, but just taking some time to kind of plan, put some goals on paper. How can I strengthen my resume this year?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we love, starting to work with families right now, so we can still have a play.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I got a little tickle. We can still have a play in making sure that the resume does equal what the colleges are looking for that you're applying to. So I know we can't upload this on YouTube and everything else in terms of the template, but we are happy to get it to you. So please email us. My email is amanda@methodlearning.com. Jessica is jessica@methodlearning.com. Really fancy there, right? Just first name at Method Learning.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we are happy to give you this. It's a workable document. You can copy and paste, use it as you need to. And then we're also going to post that replay of that webinar. So you have tons of information. Great way to get started. So I think definitely share this with others, because this is a great place to get started.
Great action item for the winter to kind of keep you thinking about it. And also, we just really have a hard time sometimes when students come and the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I should have done this. So this is being proactive and getting ahead of it and really setting yourself up for success. So we hope that you find this little live here and our webinar helpful and informative. And like Amanda said, feel free to reach out to us at any time. It could be about anything college related, college planning, test prep. And if you want this document, we are happy to share it with you. So,
all right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, stay warm out there. Bye-bye. Yes.